So, right. So as you can see, now it's starting to look proper. Okay. I mean, this is good. This is very, very good. So we've got the forecastle completely done with, if you can see there, the crane, the anchor, flagpole, all of the various bits and bobs going on there. The two cranes here for the cargo, okay, crow's nest, and of course the mast, which is huge. All told, very, very impressive indeed. It's just stunning. I mean, the one problem I have, and there's no way that they could have done this, I don't think, so it's fair enough, but in reality, it wasn't really wedge shaped like that. It was more curved, like a Gothic window, like curved to a point. But achieving that in Lego would be pretty much impossible. So they've had to go for this fairly straightforward kind of straight edge sides. I can live with that. The instruction booklet's actually very, 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 very helpful. I can actually put this to one side now for a bit. So I'm going to do that if I can find somewhere to put it. It's so big I can't put it anywhere. There we go. Because we're moving on to a kind of subsection now. So it's this bit. So the beginning of the superstructure, basically, with the bridge and the first funnel. Okay, and so yeah, that's where we're at now. So I'm going to carry on, get building the keel. I know that this features the boiler room. Because of course you can break the ship apart and look at get the kind of cross section, and it's the boilers of the ship are going to be visible, so that'd be quite interesting. So I'll get building and I'll come back again when I've got something to show. Okay, so here it is, the boilers. So this is after bag 5. This is bag set 5. Okay, and as you can see, it's fairly unrecognisable at this point. There's not a huge amount going on there, but you have got the boilers, all 4 of them. Okay, and the swimming pool as well. Okay, so that's quite a nice little feature. Now the boilers, of course, there were a great many of these. I wish I had the numbers off the top of my head, but I haven't. It must be in the region of, 8 per compartment. 16, 24, at least 24, probably more than that, 32 perhaps. And each one, of course, generated heat to create the steam that pushed, that drove the ship along. Later on, I'll be building the huge reciprocating engines, which were the ones that actually drove the axle, which turned the screws, which enabled the ship to move. Obviously, you see these in the film. For example, these are the things that the workers are shoveling coal into. They were known as firemen. Completely different to the idea of firemen, fire brigade, firefighters. But firemen because their job was to maintain the fire at all times. And obviously, it was in this deep recess of the ship, just above the keel here, which flooded, so quickly. Especially, if we're thinking, that this will go here like that. So, these would be some of the first boilers in the ship, on the first watertight compartments that would have flooded. Anyone who was in that room when the iceberg hit would have experienced, the plates parting and the water gushing in, freezing cold water gushing in, and only very little time to get out, in that circumstance. So, quite intimidating, quite scary. And yeah, just interesting, the swimming pool just above, obviously to get the warmth, kind of naturally from the huge boilers just below. When you look at photos of the swimming pool on the Titanic, you're not blown away by any stretch. It was fairly rudimentary, and because it was tucked so deep into the ship, lots of exposed ironwork and girders and things like that. It's not a luxurious scene. But then the idea of having a swimming boat on a ship at that time was totally new. Completely new. I think it was the second boat to have one. So, when you're doing something new, it might not be quite as fancy as, a modern day cruise liner with its huge kind of, sculpted pool with, slides and all that kind of thing. Nothing like that at all. This was more of a plunge pool, quite deep, but not very big. Fed by salt water, if I remember rightly, just water directly pumped in from outside. They might even have used bilge for it. And it was just a bit of a novelty, and obviously it's a source of that wonderful creative joke of, um, the swimming pool on the Titanic has still got water in it, which very good. So yeah, this is shaping up nicely. I mean, like I said, you're not seeing much of the shape of the ship here at this point again. It's like we were earlier on with that bit, but I'm moving on to bag 6 now, and we'll see how that pans out. I think what we'll start to see is the cross section start to build up. All the different rooms and the grand staircase that's going to kind of go up this bit here. Okay, it's interesting because the grand staircase and these bits here that you can see, perhaps these rounded bits with the holes in, they act as a kind of lock. And one of the last things that I'll do when I finish the ship is get some very, very long Technic poles like these, only an awful lot longer, and that kind of slides down to kind of lock in place the 3 sections of the ship. Very clever technique they've chosen to use. Again, no Technic. Well, no Technic pins, because those pins, like have I got any here? These things, which are so often used to connect, to clip things together. It's like, they're used to clip these buildings together, to make them a street. They're very, very easily damaged, and they easily lose their grip. They just kind of get compressed and just cease working. So they avoided that, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a very, very good thing to do. It means that mechanism of taking it apart, into the 3 pieces, putting them back together again, is always going to be very kind of satisfying, and it's never going to feel like, oh, it's starting to, get a bit of fatigue and it's starting not to work properly anymore. Okay, so I'm going to just open up bag 6. Well, the bag 6s, I think there's 2 of them, and then we'll carry on.